Hello and welcome to Goose Live. I'm your host, Charlie Stivers. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about opportunities and jobs in the digital space to help workers prepare for the digital economy. That's what we're all about. And our guest today is Sarah Otsuki, who is founder of KEY to Web3, which is an elite global recruitment and consulting agency for specialized talent solutions. Their expertise spans from diverse industries and emerging technologies, including blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI, gaming, aerospace, and she mentioned maritime to me as well. So they work with companies of all sizes, from startups to Fortune 500s, and their dedicated team includes industry experts, and they're committed to ensuring your success. Welcome to Goose Live, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me, Charlie. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about the opportunities for worker. I think people are freaked out about this whole AI thing, and are they going to be replaced by machines and things like that? So I think it's a very relevant conversation today. So let's get into it.
I love it, and I have to share that is absolutely okay to be afraid of the unknown. Uncertainty is definitely out there. But I'm here to say, especially with AI, I'll dive right into that. We have to adapt and overcome with change, right? Change is here. It's been happening. There's so many emerging technologies, and really what we need to do is just find, where do I fit in the space, right? Where do I fit in? What do I need to do now to be able to get a job in these areas? And it's okay to be afraid, but the good news is, right, how AI is not something to be afraid of. It actually makes us more efficient. And how do you become the expert? How do you utilize these tools to not only enhance your resume, but technically do the job of 4 people, right, all in one? And as a hiring manager, what they look for is, this is great. I'll use marketing, for example, right? A marketing leader, a lot of the questions that they ask is, what AI tools are you using, right? Because it does create efficiencies. It does do the work of 4 people. But the person who's being selected or hired through these companies is the person who's adapted AI within their work and are now utilizing it to be more efficient, right? So really not steering away from it or thinking of it as, oh my gosh, I'm going to get replaced, right? It's really adopting this technology and using it better. I think of it as like, how we had vehicles, right? Like cars, and look at all the extras that come in it, right? We're now using all of these extras. How do we make things easier, faster, better? And it's kind of the same, right? Things that were in a vehicle before were not there before, and it made our lives a little more difficult. And now you have all these fancy buttons, and now you could use them, and they're great. So think of like streaming media, right? That's a prime example. So that's really what I have to share for those who might be a little worried about AI. It's also doing so many great things and changing the way we do things. So it's really something to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think anything tech, there's always a learning curve. And eventually we all do adapt and figure out that it is just a tool to enhance our experience or our productivity. So I'm looking forward to it. And even myself, I have a little bit of a techie background, but I'm by no means an expert in AI, but it's not that hard. And then you look at some of the things you accomplish with it, and you're like, whoa, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the opportunities. I think everyone's kind of curious, especially you're in close to the valley part of Texas, where Tesla and Elon Musk are, and he's kind of a big stickler on showing up in person. Can you maybe shed a little light on, are you seeing in person, remote, or telecommuting still as an opportunity or an option for the new worker?
Yeah, great question. There's been this battle of remote first, right? Remote first companies. I think, and then last year there was a couple of the bigger tech companies that said, "Come in, or you won't have a place here." And I think the dynamic of that is changing. It has to change, right? Companies are very strong in diversity. They're global hiring. There's global talent. That's absolutely amazing too. And not all talent can replace or relocate their entire families to go be to the other side of the country and quickly really uproot their whole lives to go work on site. I think a lot of it comes from, I think it works for some companies, right, where the work demands that you have to be on site. But for the most part, most jobs can be done remotely, and I think employers are starting to see that, right? The quality of candidates, your talent pool gets bigger. You have more of a variety to pick from. I've noticed that positions that are very strict on, we only want them within a 50-mile radius, it's slim pickings, and it is very, their talent pool is not the biggest. Like I said before, not everybody wants to relocate their entire life into an area where they may not be excited to be living in. But I think employers are now starting to see that. I think we will continue to see the companies that are very strict about having somebody on site. But the good news is that most of the clients that we're helping are remote first. So I think that's the direction we're heading in.
Nice. And then how about for our retired military? We do have a handful of retired military viewers. What kind of opportunities are you seeing for them?
Oh, I absolutely love that you mentioned that. We are strong supporters of our veterans. There are plenty of jobs out there, and hiring managers do see that. I highly encourage veterans to apply. A lot of the training, a lot of the skill sets that they have are absolutely transferable into the everyday work, leadership skills. I'll speak specifically for, a lot of like our analysts or security teams too. There's plenty of work on the civilian side where we could use the support as well. Highly, highly encourage it. Absolutely.
Nice. And then how about as far as, since we met at Ethereum Denver, let's talk a little bit about Web3, which is more of this correlation to the decentralized models that are evolving, not only decentralized workforce, but decentralized technologies. What are you, we just are now emerging out of this bear market. What are you seeing? Like, what have you seen? Maybe walk us through a little bit of your journey and what you see going forward in Web3 specifically, please.
Thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about my story. I've been in the industry since 2014, and the pendulum has gone from one side of the other to the other. Mm-hmm. It's been an absolute roller coaster. I think, yes, absolutely. During the bear market, jobs are affected. It's gotten a lot better. I personally think just, being the owner of a recruiting agency that specializes only specializes in blockchain, they're just getting a little, there are jobs out there, right? But some of them don't even have the same titles, right? Or we're still trying to create titles for some of these roles. And I think I highly encourage those who, again, can adapt, are curious, right? Because we don't know, the industry has evolved and changed even from when I started in the industry, and I've seen it continue to evolve. You may be doing the role of two people, right? Where versus in a traditional role, you were just doing one, or especially in like early stage startups, or you are changing, your job changed from 6 months and it's 6 months into a completely different role that you needed to adapt in order to continue that role, because we're all learning. Nobody knows what Web3 or blockchain is going to look like in a couple years. And one thing is for certain, right? It's great technology. There's wonderful use cases out there in different areas of the industry, in different industries, right? There's room for legal. There's room for our security teams to keep us safe. A lot of the compliance roles that are coming up out there are engineers who specialize in blockchain, right? Even for them, like they're evolving along with the technology, just like we are. So there's hope out there, right, for somebody who's really excited about something new, the unknown, right? But that's really where I've seen it. Now, the job market has picked up in 2024, and I will share from a hired manager's perspective, that soft skills, right, eager to learn, passionate about Web3, is almost a foot in the door, right? It takes a specific type of personality to want to thrive in this environment. And sometimes that plays a big role in getting hired for some of these positions. And I think that's really important. If you're looking for stability, I think the technology itself will be here for a while, right? And I think if you upskill yourself, continue to learn, continue to teach yourself, network, expand your resume, then you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, one of the things that I do as a researcher and is I get a lot of the feeds for the job boards. So I will subscribe to yours. I did check out your job board as well. And it seems like I would say over 50% are some type of engineering field, coding, and there's several different languages of coding out there too. Are you seeing any trends that are pretty interesting?
I do. And this is a really big one, right, that I noticed in 2023. So during the bull market, right, there was a lot of marketing talent, right? A lot of products. We saw a lot about product. A lot of companies were advertising and things like that. And I think they did an absolute great job, right? You'd see crypto on the news. You'd see it all over social media. And it got attention from a lot of people that wouldn't have normally been involved in the industry, right? So what happened during the bear market, right? And of course, there was like those bad actors that, that we want to forget about. But there were some things that you probably saw on the news. And I thought, well, this doesn't define the industry, right? But it really put a stain on what people really thought of the industry. And I saw how it really affected companies. So companies then decided, okay, it's the bear market. Things aren't going so well. And so just like they started to have layoffs. And then I said, well, we're really highlighting these layoffs, but it's not just Web3. It was across all industries, right? We had these big tech companies laying off as well, right? So it wasn't just Web3. So we kind of like pivoted. We're like, okay. But what I did see a trend in was business development and marketing was not, all the work that they did was not in vain, because now they had this great product that had great advertisement. And now it was time to build. So guess what? Engineering roles like tripled, right? So it was almost like, when I say pendulum swinging, it was almost like, oh my gosh, we have all this advertising, great. Okay, now we have to really focus. We need people to really build this out. So then now we had all this blockchain engineer roles or software engineering roles, which increased. So as a recruiting agency, we pivoted and we said, okay, we actually need to, we're hiring, companies are now hiring more engineers. And that's really the direction that they went in. So people were silently building and creating all these great products. But so that's kind of the shift that I saw in 2023 going into 2024. It went from non-technical. Of course, there were some technical roles, but it went from non-technical to very technical.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty fascinating, in my opinion. Hopefully our viewers are kind of digging these opportunities. And one of the other things that I'm noticing too is this pivot from existing companies. Sometimes they're referred to as legacy companies, legacy systems, from Web 2 into Web 3. Are you starting to see the traditional companies wanting to attract Web3 developers and be ready for this new economy?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not only in development, like, a lot of like legal, right? Legal counsel, due to regulation. We've seen an uptick in those types of jobs too, but across all areas, you see these really large companies who would not even look at any type of blockchain product or crypto per se, right, are now, and these are some of the really big players, right, that have now adopted it. So yes, I have seen an increase of Web 2 companies looking to hire Web 3 talent. Which again, right, we don't know what the industry is going to look like, but it's headed in a great direction. And this is what we've been wanting. For us, it's a win, right? We're excited about this, right? Because we know what the industry looked like 3-4 years ago. And we're like, yes, like it's amazing, it's here, right? And it's getting bigger and better. So we see the big picture here, and it's headed in a great direction.
Yeah, and another point to make, I think, is, this Web3 thing isn't just about cryptocurrency. This is about the underlying technology of blockchain. And I think that's where there's more stability. And with crypto purely is more of the uncertainty. Are there any things in particular that you've noticed in that respect?
Yes, absolutely. And I encourage viewers, like, go online and do some research on blockchain use cases. It's incredible. It's like in everyday life, we're now, one in particular that really stands out to me is because I'm very curious of what that would look like in the future, is like how FICO, right, can be impacted on chain, right? And what that looks like for the future. So that's one particular, on-chain data in healthcare, and how that protects the consumer, and how that protects their, their information, and how that's a huge one too. So healthcare is a huge one, but I highly encourage users to do research, because you're right, Charlie, you nailed it. People think blockchain, they think crypto.
Yep.
Right? Which is not a bad thing, because that's what, that's okay. It is a part of it. But there's so many bigger things out there other than just that. That is really exciting.
Yeah, and you hit one of the magic words there. It's data. And in this whole Web3 evolution, and that's what it comes down to, is we're all sick and tired of being the product and these companies sharing our data in exchange for us getting to use it for free. Yeah. And one of our past guests was actually, I'm glad you also mentioned healthcare, called Jennyco, and they're basically helping people to control their own healthcare data. But that is super valuable, and they're providing this solution where they, under HIPAA compliance, can basically mask your identity, but they can help us lease this data out that is so valuable to case studies, consumer packaged good companies to do food allergy testing. So it is limitless. Are there any other sectors that you're pretty excited about that can you really see embracing this whole, I call it tokenization of data?
Yeah, absolutely. So supply chain. So that's another one that is really exciting. And there are some large companies that are now dabbling in it in supply chain, but that, logistics. And again, I have to throw this out there, right? For our veterans that have been in logistics positions, this is also, right, as if you're excited about Web3, this is also a great opportunity for you as well, too. They're everywhere.
Oh, that's excellent. What else? Do you have any fascinating statistics that you want to share with the audience that have been pretty cool?
Yeah, I really want to share to put everyone's mind at ease. It has been a tough year for layoffs, but I highly encourage to focus on the things that you can do. We are our best marketer, or we are our marketer, right? We market ourselves. And I'd love to share just a couple of tips and hints of things that our audience could do to stand out amongst the crowd, right? Statistically, our opportunities. So if I have an opportunity, it went from maybe having 200 to 300 people applying to in the thousands. It was pretty eye-opening. And so, of course, how do we help? We want to help everybody, right? And granted, not everyone will get the job, but we're going to help prepare everybody and help them put their best foot forward so that they can get hired. And resume updating is a really important one. So I'll dig into a little bit of that. Update your resume. There's this, what can I put on my resume and what can I not? Should it be 1 page or should it be 2 pages? Is this too much? There's so many questions that I get asked on a daily basis. And in Web3 in particularly, right? Is it okay? Some people are working on projects or side hustles, and they're like, I can't list this. And I'm like, of course you can. It's your Web3 resume. You should absolutely list these things. So really focusing on your resume, and I'll say resumes, and here's why. I think I work with people every day, and I hear this a lot. Oh, I need to update my resume. Well, let's talk about resumes, right? Because you shouldn't just have one. One, you should be updating it to the job description, right? Or what you're trying to showcase for the job that you're applying to. So you shouldn't have just one generalized resume. You should have one specific to the job, right? So really being open to being able to add to it, remove, that's something I highly encourage. And by the way, at KEY to Web3, we also do resume reviews. If you would like a resume review, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to help. So resume additions, so that's something I highly encourage. And then a lot of it is sometimes I get I'll never get that job. That job is asking for 10 years of experience. And like I said, right, you can't look at it as, you can't already set yourself up for failure. Really, what do you have to add? How are you going to add value to this company? And remember, I mentioned soft skills, right? A lot of our hiring managers will hire somebody who's eager, hungry, they want to learn, they have an excellent personality, you know, they get along well with others. They will pick that over, you know, the 10-year experience or whatnot. So there's that too. Put yourself out there, apply to the role, and then go from there. So there's that too. I think that's really what I would say, you know, just really market yourself, networking. That's, I want to touch base a little bit on that. Network in different social media channels. For Web3, you know, Discord has some great channels, a Telegram as well that you could join. There's a lot of groups that you can join to market yourself. Immerse yourself within the community. Reach out to somebody who's in the industry. And believe it or not, like, ask for a mentor. Like, people love to mentor people, believe it or not. It's okay to ask, like, hey, do you have time to just meet with me for an hour? I'd love to pick your brain apart. You know, I've personally done that. So as an entrepreneur, so it's okay. Always want to learn. If you have that mentality, you're going to do just fine. You won't have trouble finding a job.
That was really good advice, actually. And you answered one of the questions that I was thinking about. But more in particular, LinkedIn, you know, people typically think of it as the social media resume site. And the other thing you touched on too is, you know, you may have 200 to 300 applicants for one role, or and you know, and this comes into play where you said also networking, you maybe get an invite. So are you still seeing LinkedIn as effective, or is that more like the Web2 companies, or what's your opinion there?
I love that. Yes, no, there's absolutely, LinkedIn is a great resource and a great tool to use. Plenty of Web3 companies on there as well. It's been actually really exciting to see it's doubled. The Web3 companies on LinkedIn have doubled. So it's great. So LinkedIn, yes, absolutely. Connect with people in the industry. There's actually a search like bar in LinkedIn where you can type in the word Web3 or blockchain, and you will get a list of people that are in the industry. Connect, connect, connect. We're all about connecting. Reach out to people that are maybe very, you know, if you're a product manager or project manager, it's okay to search project managers in Web3 and start connecting, asking questions. You know, speaking of LinkedIn, they actually now have AI tools integrated into their systems, right? Which made our jobs, you know, as recruiters or hiring managers too, or anyone in sales, so much more efficient. So just a little blurb there about AI. It was really nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it actually saved us so much time. So efficiency. So that was really cool. Another tidbit about LinkedIn, you know, there are events on LinkedIn. So you can search by events in Web3 and get connected that way as well. It'll give you a list of all the events, people who are hosting events on there too. So that would be my suggestion for that as well.
All right, and then talk more about like yourself, the role that you play, and how your company fits into it, as well as, you know, other staffing agencies. Is that a good strategy to get placement to maybe, you know, rise to the top of the 200 to 300 applicants?
You know, I am more like personally for me throughout my career, and I can speak for our team, which is wonderful as well. It's really, again, when I mentioned marketing, right? How you market yourself. It's okay to send a follow-up email. Like I really do read my messages, and when somebody sends me a message outside of just applying for a role and being a stack of resumes, when somebody generally sends me a heartfelt like LinkedIn message or finds a way to reach out to me on a different social media channel, I actually take a moment to actually read it and review the resume. Now, when I say all the resumes that get sent to me, directly are, are a fit? No, but you make yourself stand out, right? And I highly encourage that, not just on the recruiting side, but for hiring managers as well. It's okay to put yourself out there. So taking that extra step, right, so that you stand out from that. There's some other ways to market yourself on your on your resumes. How do you make your resume, again, your resume really stands out? I'm more likely to look at a resume that says, Web3 projects, and it's like highlighted. And I'm like, my eyes directly go to that, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm curious, like, what has he done or what has she done? Right? It's really just marketing yourself to get the attention, aside from just your skill set, and highlighting it in the right places. But I don't want to discourage anyone, because there are so many applications, right? All you have to do is really just figure out, how are you going to stand out and what's going to make a hiring manager or a recruiter want to look at your resume. So that's really, I hope that's encouraging.
No, yes, I think so. So you mentioned soft skills. How about some of the hard skills, the topics that you're seeing, maybe some of these languages, or I guess that's one of the best examples I can think of as far as distinction. For our audience who may be what I call or newbies or no coiners in the crypto side of things, but when it comes to blockchain engineering type of roles, what are some of those hard skills that the normal worker has, but they don't realize they have an opportunity in Web3?
Gotcha. Yeah, love it. And there are, blockchain engineering is obviously it's a very niche area, right? And people ask constantly, how do I get in? Like, I've been an engineer for 10 years, or I'll say not 10 years, I've been an engineer for 5 years, right? And I want to get into Web3. What do I do? Right? There's some very brilliant engineers that were hired out of big tech, right? And they may have not necessarily been, specifically working in a blockchain role, but they were doing side gigs or personal gigs, right? Personal projects. They were contributing to maybe a project on the side, and that's what people don't really see. So when they say, oh, well, why did this person from this large big tech company get the job versus this person, we both have the same background. Oh, but what you didn't see was the side projects that they had already been working on for the last year or 2 years, and they've had a personal interest in blockchain for the last 5, right? So you don't necessarily see that. So again, how I can't stress this enough. Like, I know that I'm sure there's some of you out there in our viewers and listeners, you have projects, you've been in the industry, you've contributed to maybe a DAO or some side project. Like, list that. It is totally acceptable and okay, even if you haven't been doing it professionally. Hiring managers do look at that.
That's a good point. I had a thought there, it escaped me for a moment, but how about, like, do you... No problem. How about, do you have any like inspiring stories that people can relate to that you can share?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's value in sharing a personal story, right? I call it like the raise your hand method, right? Because personally, for myself, right, I wasn't necessarily recruiting in the space, right? But being able, when somebody gives you a challenge or somebody introduces you to something maybe you've never heard of before, it's just having curiosity, right? So like I said, my experience was like being around engineers back in 2014 who were talking about Bitcoin. And I was like, of course, me being, who I am personally, I'm always curious. I'm like, oh, what is that? I want to sit at that table, right? I didn't like, I was I was just curious, and it takes a certain personality, right, to be able to thrive in those environments. And once I was introduced to this like meetup or network of friends, the network just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I went down the rabbit hole. Right. And then I just never left. And the way I personally transitioned my career into, which has there's always been a staffing component in my career, right, to some extent, before I went into recruiting professionally. There was always a staffing component. But then I thought, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm excited about. And guess what? I'm going to raise my hand. It's the key to success. I was like, nobody's going to hear me if I don't put myself out there. And I want to do this professionally. So I started to ask questions. At the time I was working for a very large, one of the largest global HR recruiting agencies. And I was like, hey, I'll take your most difficult roles or anything in emerging tech. And at that point, right, I was like, they're harder to fill roles, but that's what I was excited about. And I was passionate about it. And then I thought, okay, this is home for me. Like, this is what I need to be in. And then taking those steps, like, how am I going to get from here to here? Like, I already have a large network of friends and people that I've been working with for a while. I'm already placing people, talent into these great companies. And then it just went on from there. And I thought, how can I do this on a bigger scale? And it came from networking too, right? Where people would ask, hey, do you know anyone? I'm like, I sure do. Right. So it's just like being able to connect the dots. And really, a lot of the times I didn't get paid for it. And it was okay because I was helping the industry, right? And it was okay. I was okay with that. But that led into like, okay, I'm going to help on a bigger scale. How am I going to do this? And that led into, I'm starting my own company and I'm doing this. I'm doing it already. So I'm just going to help on a bigger scale now, and then hire just some really great recruiters that can also join me in this journey, and that have been in the space for a while too. And that's really what got me here. But raise your hand. It's key to success. Be curious. Get out there. Put yourself out there. I know I'm sharing a lot about recruitment, but it really plays a part in any position that you're at. Right? Whether it's a promotion, like we can talk about promotions, right? It's the, what's that saying, Charlie? The squeaky, what's that saying? Oh, squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Gets the grease, gets the oil. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, so that's really what I would highly encourage, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. So put yourself out there, apply, update your resume. It's the key to getting a job into Web3.
Yeah, well, I would say even your enthusiasm is very inspiring for myself, and I hope for our viewers. So thank you for that. I'm glad you're as excited about this industry as I am. It is pretty cool. So it's like Women's Leadership Month, Awareness Month. So the one thing that we've all noticed in Web3 is it's very diverse because it's global, but it's male dominant. What are you seeing as far as opportunities for women, success stories, any other tips or tricks for women looking for opportunities and jobs?
Oh my gosh, I love that you asked that, because yes, it's interesting. Like, it's changed. It's headed in a great direction. There are many women supportive groups in blockchain out there, which is really awesome. Some which we've been a part of and worked with. But it was astonishing, actually. It was a very small, like 3 to 4% a female, of women in the industry. But I think in general, it's been that way, right? And it starts with us. There was this one event that I was with that I went to at ETH Denver, and you know, we can make it, we make the difference, right? I can sit here and say, oh, you know, I didn't get the job, I didn't do this, or they picked someone else over me, or, you know, I've applied to 10 jobs. But I think the effort really comes in, right? We have to put in the effort to be able to make change. So I highly encourage women that in tech or women in any industry is, again, take these skills and take this advice and put yourself out there. So here's an interesting data, which, and I am trying to understand it. I post a DevOps engineer role, or let's just say a software engineer role. You would be shocked, Hartley. Guess how many, so let's say out of 500 applications, guess how many I get that are women applications?
10?
It's a little bit more than that, so maybe like 20.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Not that much more, but okay.
But still shocking, right?
Yes.
And I'm sitting here like, how can I change this? Like, why do we only have 20 resumes? Like, why? Right? But they're not applying. Right? So I think we create the change that you want to see, right? Apply for these roles, upskill yourself, and put it out there, and it will come along with it. I see so many more women at events, some great speakers on panels, you know, in the last couple years. It's getting so much better. We're putting ourselves out there, and it's been great to see that. But you know, you should be the change that you can make a difference here, right? So we just have to stay strong and continue on, and hope we can continue to make a positive impact in the industry. But some great speakers at ETH Denver, and really excited to see the ones at Consensus this year.
Yeah, I went to Consensus last year. Man, I cannot believe what minimum $1,000 a ticket. I mean, and this is supposed to be an inclusive type of industry. I was shocked, and I guess it's going up from there.
Yeah, you know, price, like, wow, not everybody, they're so expensive, right? And I'm thinking, how we want to encourage, like, you know, people to come to these things, right? And the price of some of these tickets are, you're right, like $1,000+. And maybe a lot of people, you know, can't afford this, but I'll give you guys a really cool way to get around this, right? So a lot of the side events throughout a city, throughout the city, are just as good as the actual events. So still show up, like, go. It's so worth it, right? You get to not only meet people from all over the world that come to this great city. So I'll just say, I'll use Austin, right, for all my Texas folks. Right, Consensus is in Austin, and we have people from all over the globe that come in for this event, and they are at the same events. These people are the same people at these side events that are at the main stage. So it's definitely worth it. You know, a great place to do networking. Again, put yourself out there. You could look at side events. Telegram is a great channel, by the way, to look for like Consensus 2024 info, or for just type in the name of the event, and you'll be able to join one of the Telegram groups, which has great information. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the prices should be lower. Maybe they'll hear us.
Right? Yeah, no kidding. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, right. That's a really good piece of advice. You know, still show up, because, you know, now thinking back to the people I met at Ethereum Denver just, you know, less than a month ago, there was several people there that were there just for the networking and, you know, side events. So good one. And then the other piece of advice that I just discovered, I have a traditional financial planning background, and I saw that they were trying to invite in licensed financial advisors. I think it was for free because of the Bitcoin ETF, and we'll see what else is coming in the ETF world. But this is becoming a very notable asset class for investor dollars, other than just crypto, but other forms of ways to invest in this whole industry. So that's another tip. But yeah, as far as you gave me a ton of the links. If it's okay with you, I'll share that with our audience so they can contact you or subscribe. Anything in particular is probably wise to do with that information for them?
Oh, no, please do share. Yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn or Telegram. We'd love to, or Twitter. We'd love to help you out in any way that you can, and we're always open and here for you. So would be more than happy to connect with anyone and help in any way that I can. Again, we'd love to help you with your resumes. There is no charge to do that. So please feel free to reach out and follow us on our socials.
Awesome. Well, that was just an abundance of tips and tricks and great advice. So thank you so much for your time, Sarah. And I hope our audience appreciates this as much as I do.
Thanks so much, Charlie. Bye, everyone.